Video game trailers. Often our first interaction with a game. You usually want your trailer to showcase the final product in an exciting or intriguing way. Whether that be by showing in-game footage, a pre-rendered video, or sometimes a mix of both. Generally speaking, you want your trailers to accurately showcase the idea of your game. In terms of VR games, I think that the legendary cinematic trailer for The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners is an incredible example of a good VR trailer. Every single detail in the trailer is obviously thought through and placed there for a reason. It starts off with this girl walking along the street to her home. She says hi to this firefighter. It's obvious that this girl's family is pretty wealthy. If you look at their house, it's got a gate and it's 2 stories tall. She runs into her house and her mother gives her a unicorn bag. When you look at the background, you see this TV showing small clusters of red dots, displaying violence in the city. It fades to a time at night, at least a few weeks into the future. We can tell because this bunch of flowers has rotted and died, just like the population. If you look to the TV, what was once small clusters of red has turned into a giant solid block. Previously, they said the officers were still trying to take control of the streets, but after the cut, a voice says that the National Guard has locked down the whole city, with these pop-ups showing what the law enforcement is guarding. They obviously can't go into the city anymore to help, as they're overwhelmed. So they had to retreat and just kill anything trying to leave. At this point, we as the audience don't know if this lockdown is due to the undead, or it's just mass rioting, as the news report says that the violence is spreading. The mother packs a bag with a med kit, water and food, and what looks to be a flashlight. This is a good detail, as that's all the things that keep you alive in the actual game. The whole time, the girl is just stuck watching the TV, as her mother focuses on moving forward. An explosion happens outside that back window. In the panic to rush out the front door, the bag is dropped on the floor, and all the stuff inside is dumped out. The sandwich container opens, and the whole thing falls apart. We see that a lot of time has passed, as the sandwich has gone moldy, and the whole house has been ransacked and is all dirty. The TV turns off because the electricity is gone. The firefighter from the start comes back into play. He runs in the house while checking his rear. He looks around, he grabs a broom, snaps it over his knee, and stuffs it in the bag. Here we see the walkers for the first time. We see that the bag is dusty, further showing how much time has passed. He walks out and we see another time skip. The bag is dirty, and we can see the guy actually put a firefighting emblem on the bag. We also see that his once pristine clothes have been dirtied too. A really nice detail we see is that after however long it's been, that the stick in the bag has been covered in blood. He then walks through the cemetery. He goes to grab something out of his bag. We then see this new character covered in tattoos and scars. She runs up to the firefighter, who we see was reaching for his weapon. Then we see this new character take him off guard, and she sticks a box cutter up to his throat. She can't bring herself to kill him, so she backs off a bit, and looks over and sees why the guy was reaching for a weapon. While she's distracted, he immediately stabs her through the thigh. We see that this guy didn't make it this far being nice. He did that with no hesitation. They fight on the ground, and the firefighter is being pushed back into a group of walkers. The chick walks off with the bag, but let's not forget, she got stabbed in the leg. We see her slowly turn into a walker, presumably succumbing to her wound, or at least being slowed down enough to be bitten. Another neat detail is that the camera is zoomed in on this fire department emblem with axes and a helmet, and immediately after, we see this walker get an axe thrown at their head. Then we see that the girl from the start threw the axe and took the bag off the corpse. Now she's hardened and pretty roughed up, just like the bag. You could take the bag as a metaphor, for whoever gets the bag gets to live. The mother gives the bag to the girl who lives, but she is noticeably missing in the end. It ends up in the firefighter's hands, and when he fights the tattooed woman, we see her continuing to reach for the bag. She's focused on living, while he is focused on the fight, which ends up with him being devoured. The music in it has details too. It's a take on When the Saints Go Marching In. It starts off sounding really clean, there's only vocals and a trumpet, but when the breakout happens, the bass comes in, building the dark atmosphere. Then there is droning, building tension. After the explosion, the drums start going. When the woman attacks a firefighter, there's a dramatic violin building more tension. And when the fight breaks out, a dramatic drum pattern starts with a faster tempo. Finally, in the ending, the singing has been mixed in with zombie singing, which is a really nice detail. This trailer is really well crafted. I'm not saying it's perfect. During the fight, the broomstick disappears after the firefighter stabs. The woman's box cutter also seemingly disappears. It's weird that they both had weapons, and it was just a fist fight. She also kicks the guy off with the leg that was stabbed, and we also don't see a wound. A little side note, there's actually a director's cut to the trailer only on Vimeo. They reanimate most of the scenes, and even add another. It fixes all the problems in the fight scene. Thought I should bring that up. Back to the video. But it's not really about that. It's about telling a story about how regular people can get corrupted and turn into savages. You must make quick decisions to survive in this world, and you have to be careful about who you trust. It's kill or be killed. I think this perfectly sums up the game. And then there's whatever the fuck Meta was doing in 2020. They were just lying about how their games looked. These scenes look like what out-of-touch tech companies think games are. It reminds me of Ready Player One, but not in a good way. They even had a Saints and Sinners segment in one of their ads. And it is a disgrace. There's almost no storytelling here. It's also generic. The only thing slightly clever here is this picture of a guy on a couch. She looks over and sees a guy on a couch, but he's a zombie! And the Beat Saber part is so bad that it's almost good. All of the movements are so stiff, the head sway is so robotic, the level they play makes no sense either. Like, how are you supposed to hit this one? The levels they play don't even match up. There are completely different maps. This vertical wall doesn't even appear on the other player's side. They also storm a D-Day beach. She takes what looks like a smoke grenade and throws it at nothing. The Population 1 section is where the Ready Player 1 vibes really come in. It looks right out of some generic video game movie. This ad as a whole looks way too realistic. Most of these games are meant to be stylized to run on the underpowered Quest 2, but stripping that away and making them look so generic takes away all the game's soul. Let's look at another awful meta ad. Horizon Worlds. You remember that? The place where people remake games on Roblox that are already rip-offs of other games? Let's see how they pitch it. They act like it's some creative utopia where nobody has legs. And seeing these avatars anywhere other than an Instagram comment section is surreal. Let's also not forget about how everyone complained about the lack of legs, that after saying the technology wasn't there yet, they introduced legs to their avatars, and in the keynote they faked the legs with mocap suits. This game just looks so corporate and sterile. Meta just love making misleading trailers. The actual game is somehow worse than it's portrayed here. It's filled to the brim with AI slop and low effort games. But we can't talk misleading ads without bringing up the infamous Bonelab teaser trailer. This trailer is hated because it made the game look way too good for what came out on release. The long-awaited sequel to one of the best VR titles of all time, Boneworks. We'll talk about that trailer later. It's about a humble tech giant employee and his ethereal and surreal quest to transfer his consciousness into the Matrix to live forever. The campaign was obviously a big priority for Stress Level 0 while working on Boneworks. However, Bonelab's campaign was incredibly short in comparison. I still definitely enjoyed it, I made a whole video on it, but there was a big emphasis on the sandbox and modding. That led to about half these clips in the trailer being sandbox content, and the actual story mode footage was mostly taken from the first 2 levels, before the game killed all its momentum it gained. Upon figuring out the game was more of a spin-off than a Boneworks 2, everybody and their mother uploaded a rant video to YouTube saying Bonelab was a disappointment. All of this controversy could have easily been avoided if this trailer wasn't so damn hype. It really makes it look like another interesting grand journey. Boneworks' launch trailer was handled much better. It still showcases a small amount of sandbox content, but all of its footage is shot on actual campaign levels, just with stuff spawned in. Like this hovercraft, these enemies, and this Nimbus gun. I completely understand why they went with this approach, as a physics system this robust was unheard of in a VR game at the time. They needed to show off this new system in ways that the normal campaign couldn't quite pull off. Probably the most legendary, unexpected VR trailer belongs to Half-Life Alyx, dropping on a random Friday with no teasers 15 years after the last title. It was like a bombshell. That is such a Valve move. This game moved headsets more than any other game before or after it, except maybe Gorilla Tag for 10-year-olds. It was a controversial move making it a VR exclusive, but I think people were just happy to have a new Half-Life game after so long. The game's graphics were really beautiful. I like how the whole trailer is gameplay, showing off the physics, the visuals, and what the game is actually like to play. It's a really straightforward and effective trailer, probably one of the best I've ever seen. Circling back to The Walking Dead, the Aftershocks DLC for the first game had its own trailer. It's a compilation of intense moments from the game. I love how the emphasis on the zombies has been moved to hunting alive foes. It's really a war zone out here, and you're caught up in the middle of it, greedy for the fruits of all their labors. The trailer for the second game is focused on the zombies way more than the previous one. There aren't many human foes here, besides one big exception, the Axeman. It puts an emphasis on this mysterious antagonist, which I really like because it's a first for the series. It also focuses on the allies you have here too, which is also pretty rare here. It's less about telling a story and more about building up hype with cool moments, explosions, punching zombies, and just showing purely gameplay and things possible in the engine. But at the end of the trailer, they jump the shark. There's a completely CG scene of the tourist stiffly climbing up the tower. It actually happens in the game, so I'll give them credit for it. But this next part is where I have a problem. While he's climbing up, a zombie jumps out and attacks him, which never happens in the game. Then he gouges out its eye and throws him down. Again, impossible in the game, but still kinda reasonable. Then while it's falling, a bunch of explosions are in the background for no reason. It doesn't make any sense. And then, in an act to purely build hype, and with no actual logical sense to the scene, an explosion just appears right behind the zombie, while it's still like 20 meters up in the air. This scene is absolutely ridiculous and makes no sense. I definitely don't have a problem with CGI segments in VR trailers. There are some great establishing shots in some of the alternate Saints and Sinners 2 trailers, but as soon as they make it first person and try to pass it off as gameplay, it just feels off and disingenuous. When you watch the trailers, you can tell a bit about the person recording's personality. You can imagine some overhead guy just saying to have fun and try to get into the most intense and creative situations possible. There's just so much personality that goes into it. You don't get that with these CGI moments. Tell me why they couldn't make something like this work. Thinking back to that meta ad, that's definitely why I dislike that trailer. It's all just CGI garbage, not representative of the games they're trying to portray. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents on these trailers. Moral of the story, don't be meta and don't lie about your game. If you liked, sub, goodbye.